Welcome to The Verdict. I'm Kent Myers. As you can see, Mick Cornett is not here again this week and won't be probably for 3 more weeks. But hang in there with me because we've got some good shows coming up in his absence. Today we're going to be talking about Rand Elliott and Associates, an architectural firm in Oklahoma City that continues to excel not simply locally, but nationally and internationally insofar as recognition of fine work is concerned. Rand has been on our show before and talked about some of his projects, but it's been several years. I wanted to bring him back to bring you up to date on what's been going on in the world of architecture, particularly in Rand Elliott's world. So stick with us. We're sure glad you join us today because you're going to enjoy this show. We got some great pictures and some great projects to talk about. Thanks for joining us on The Verdict. We will see you in just a minute.
The idea of sending American money out of our own economy these days for foreign oil is madness. Yet we're spending $25 billion a month on foreign oil. America's 100-year supply of natural gas can break this pattern and strengthen our economy. See how it can create jobs, generate clean electricity, fuel our cars, and protect our environment at chk.com. Chesapeake, America's champion of natural gas.
Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate. We're accountants. We do taxes, business valuations, estate planning, and consulting. And we're right here in Oklahoma, working with the owners of small and medium-sized businesses. Steve Wilsey and Stuart Meyer have the resources and the experience. Wilsey, Meyer, Eatman, Tate in Oklahoma City and Tulsa.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers introducing our guest today. We're really pleased to have Rand Elliott rejoin us for another visit on The Verdict. Rand is the boss man at Elliott Associates, an architectural firm here in Oklahoma City that is widely known, of course, locally, but also nationally and internationally. Rand did his undergraduate work in architecture at Oklahoma State University, and he and 17 folks at the Triangular Building in Oklahoma City, I can't remember the name of it, office, and do awfully good architectural work, and we're going to bring some of that to you today. Rand's firm is the only architectural firm in Oklahoma to have won national and international awards for the work that they have done, and as a matter of fact, they have won 10 of them. Over the years, they've won 245 local, national, and international awards for their architectural work. And we think it's time that you guys got a chance to take a look at some of it and let Rand tell you what he was thinking about when he did it and how it's turned out. So we're really pleased to welcome back to The Verdict, Rand Elliott.
Hi, thanks, Kent. It's great to be back.
Well, it's good to have you back. By the way, congratulations on all your awards.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the recent national awards, the AIA.
Sure.
American Institute of Architecture.
Right.
Can you describe some of those for us?
Well, we've been fortunate in that over the years, a number of our projects have been recognized on a national basis. And for an American architect, that's kind of the top, if you will, from that standpoint. So we've been really fortunate to have had that happen. They include projects for BMI and ImageNet. They include projects for World Neighbors. Our office, our project that we did for Ackerman McQueen in London a number of years ago. So we've really been fortunate from that standpoint. And I might mention that the name of my office building is called the Harding Brothers Meat Company, which was designed in 1914. So just for your future reference.
But it is triangular shaped.
Absolutely. It's a flat iron shaped building.
Yes. Well, tell me how one goes about being considered to win an award, because you've won some very recently, have you not? Some national awards?
We have, and I guess by nature, my DNA has made me a competitive person. And I tell all my clients that we don't go about doing projects in an effort to win awards. That's not our goal. Our goal is always to do great work. But I'm also competitive enough to like to understand how we compare, if you will, to others on a national or global basis even. So we enjoy competing, and from time to time we have the opportunity to have our projects recognized.
Now, I'd like for you to take our viewers through how you handle a project from the time the client walks in and wants to talk to you to when it's in the ground, done, and it's opening.
Sure.
So what is the process the architect goes through?
Well, I can tell you, number one, that projects don't get done by a single person. It's a team of people. It includes our consultants as well as our own in-house office. But very simply, it begins by having a conversation with a client. What are their goals? What are their fears? What are their ambitions with this project? What is their budget? What is their time schedule? I'm just very interested in what has prompted them to do this. And I have a really good friend, an architect in New York, that talks about the fact that building or construction is a very optimistic point of view, and I agree with that. So when someone comes to me to do a building, I want to know why they have that optimism. What is occurring in their life or their business that is moving them forward.
How do you explore that, or how do you convert their fears, their optimism into design?
Right. It is first, it begins with good listening, I have to tell you. And by going through a process, we'll often begin with a brainstorming session, and that is a discussion about the things that motivate them. And those ideas will prompt me to think about solving a problem. Or their ambitions about what it is. If their ambition is financial, then that will have a particular point of view. If it's about something that's altruistic, that'll have a different point of view. If it's about a museum, it will be about how artworks are displayed in such a way that creates an environment where it can be an educational process. So it varies from client to client.
Let's switch gears just for a minute.
Sure.
Let's talk about the international awards, international competition.
Right.
Tell us about how those are judged and what you contribute, what you submit, and how you're notified in the whole process.
It is an amazing time that we live in, and the notion of having work reviewed on an international basis is fascinating to me every time we do it. The American Architecture Awards, International Architecture Awards, are often sponsored, and the Chicago Athenaeum, interestingly enough, is associated with another organization in Europe called the European Center for Architecture and Urban Planning, and they have an annual competition. Every year there are hundreds of projects that are submitted. They pick an international jury to look at the work and to arrive at what they think represents the best work of that particular year. So that's how the process works.
Now, you've been on those juries, have you not?
I've been on those juries, which is another very interesting process, to say the least.
How do you decide which of your projects that you've done in a given time period you're going to submit?
Right. It's a great question. And for me, the success of a project has to do with the fact of, does the project tell a story? Does it speak to the particular functions or needs, their aesthetic goals that you might have at the very beginning? And for me, is it coming forward? Does it have a spirit about it that really allows people to connect to a particular project? And I think that's the true example of success.
What is the give and take as the project progresses between the owner or the the client
Right.
and your office? What if you come up with something and the client says, well, gosh, I don't like that at all, or have you thought about doing something else? How does that work?
Well, and the point is, yes, that does happen. And you basically step back and try to decide what is not right about this particular idea. Have I misinterpreted something? Is there another direction? The client often will change their mind through the process. And so it's really up to us as creative people to come up with a solution that meets or exceeds, frankly, their expectation for that particular project. So it is a process.
Yeah. You have 17 folks at your firm. How many of them are licensed architects?
Actually, we're at 20 right now.
Oh, I'm
Ken,
sorry.
So I'm happy to report that. But there are roughly 15 people that are working on projects specifically that are architecturally focused. The remaining part of the staff is support.
At any given time, how many projects would you have in the office that you're churning out?
Well, there'll be, it's likely that there could be as many as 10 at a time.
Really?
Going on. Our projects, as you know, go through process, early design, they go through a refinement period, they do final drawings, there's bidding, and then there's final construction. And so any particular person in our office is likely to have 2 or 3 projects. Each one of them is at a different phase in this process.
Now, you do work, of course, in Oklahoma.
Sure.
Do you do work outside Oklahoma? You did mention the London project.
We did. We do not solicit and go chasing projects in London or New York or other places. Our clients tend to take us there, and we enjoy that, and we enjoy being a part of the process with them.
Rand, we're going to jump to a break here, and then we're going to look at some of your award-winning projects. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching The Verdict. We're visiting with Rand Elliott. We'll see you in just a minute.
This cane is called For All the Grandfathers, and I dedicate it to my grandfather, Franklin Allen. Me and him just had like a spiritual thing where I just learned lessons from him without him telling me anything. The 3 dots on the feather represent my immediate family, and as my grandfather told me about the Chickasaws, that family is the most important thing. To me, the eagle sees everything, as our elders do, also representing my grandfather and his bravery in the Korean War. I actually just started on the wings for the eagles, and that's when my mother called and told me that he passed away. He took his journey. It's like somebody watching you when nobody's there. I guess he wanted me to finish it, so I finished it. He's been with me ever since. It shows how strong a Chickasaw family can be.
Home values are down in some states, but not in Oklahoma. Oklahoma's home values have increased 4.2% during the past 12 months. Unlike some states where home values have decreased as much as 20%. Good thing you're in Oklahoma. There may be real estate problems in some states, but there has never been a better time than now to buy or sell a home in Oklahoma. One of the most affordable states in the country, Oklahomans are buying and selling homes every day, and an Oklahoma Realtor can show you how. Good thing you're in Oklahoma.
What's your idea of security? A good-paying, sustainable job, a solid economy, less dependence on foreign energy? We can achieve it with the help of one industry, American oil and natural gas. It creates energy, jobs, and a strong economic base we can rely on. New technologies open vast reserves that will supply our energy needs far into the future. Because security, by every definition, is worth protecting.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers here with Rand Elliott. We're talking about some of the work that Rand's firm has done that has garnered some national and international awards. And we want to now look at a few pictures of some local projects, or reasonably local projects, that you may be aware of, and find from the guy who designed them why he did what he did and how it all came about. So let's look, Rand, let's look at the Chesapeake Boathouse.
Great.
First picture here.
One of my favorite projects. This particular image has to do with a view certainly looking north towards downtown from the south side of the river. And as everyone knows, the Chesapeake Boathouse has become a very important symbol of our city and certainly the Oklahoma River. Often people ask, what inspired this, and really the beauty of the sculptural qualities of the rowing shells are the inspiration for the building itself. And if you kind of look at the roof line, you imagine that there might be a kind of a formal connection, if you will, to that.
Yeah, I see that now. I hadn't thought about it. Are those flagpoles on the left?
No, actually, there are 16 pylons or elements that we use to symbolize competition. And there's 16 because what's called an eight-man shell has 16 oars.
Oh, very good. Let's look at the next picture.
This is the classic photograph of the Chesapeake Boathouse with the reflecting pool at the nose of the building. And I remember going through this process, and at one point Aubrey said, wow, if we've got a building that's inspired by a shell, shouldn't we have water? And so,
and you're talking about Aubrey McClendon.
Aubrey McClendon, exactly. And so we decided to put a reflecting pool on the kind of the sides and the nose of the building to reflect the building itself.
Okay, now let's move on.
This is the entry sequence. You actually enter and move towards the building truly from the rear, if you will, of the building towards the front. And it's a wonderful processional quality. The outdoor deck is used for fitness, it's used for events, and all kinds of things. And you're actually moving towards the west.
Well, still, before we cut to the next picture, let me ask you from start to finish, from the time Aubrey called you or however it started to completion and it's opened, how long the process was?
We were about 2.5 years or so from start to finish and getting the project done. And it varies from project to project, of course, depending on its complexity.
No, it was the first major structure down at the river, was it not?
Well, it has been. Of course, I don't know that any of us knew the true potential of the river except Ron Norick and others that initiated the project. And to see now, since 1993, all these wonderful things happening, the river was a wonderful baseline for other great things to happen, and we're watching that right now.
Well, last week we did a show with a riverboat captain who takes one of the Devon boats up and down the river through the locks and all. Well, let's look at some more pictures. Another project.
Well, this is the Oklahoma Heritage Association, or Oklahoma Heritage Center as it's known today, the Gaylord Pickens Oklahoma Heritage Center.
And where is it located?
It's at 13th and Chartel, and this is a wonderful building for a number of reasons. One in particular is that it was designed originally in 1927 by Solomon Andrew Layton, who is an Oklahoma treasure and was actually the architect who designed the Oklahoma State Capitol, as well as any number of other major buildings, Classen High School, and projects at OU and so forth. So we're really fortunate to be a part of this particular project and working with Clay Bennett and their board to do something really special.
This was a remodel or a refurbishment?
It is a renovation, restoration project with the idea that we had planned to bring it up to date, to bring it into the 21st century, if you will.
Okay, let's take a look at another picture there.
This is the entry courtyard, and one of the things we're
For the Heritage Center.
For the Heritage Center, that's right. One of the most important things that we did for this particular project was to choose not to have the mechanical systems on the roof of the building for them to be visible. And so what we ended up doing was literally creating a massive mechanical room, which is actually under this plaza outside. And it's also used for their traditional and very well-known garden parties that the Oklahoma Heritage Association has done over the years. We incorporated 2 wonderful water features in the outdoor garden as well. It's just a marvelous setting for Oklahoma.
Okay, and then next?
People sometimes can be surprised when they go into the Oklahoma Heritage Association. They're not quite expecting some modern pieces to it or modern details that go into it. But one of the things that makes the Oklahoma Heritage Association project so successful is that it truly is marrying a concept that we've called bookends. And it's the notion of putting history and modern thinking together that allows the building to be very 21st century in its approach. This museum, after all, is about the Oklahoma people. And so you tell this story today to young people through electronics. And they like to learn about history in a very different way than maybe you and I did, Kevin.
It's an interesting way to present old things.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, let's take a look at another project.
This is a very interesting project. This is in Houston for my good friends Tom Russell and Shannon Robertson, who have a company called BMI, and ImageNet, very entrepreneurial fellows. I think at last count they had 57 companies or something like that, and they're always the most progressive people you can ever imagine. We've been working on this wonderful branch office, if you will, in the Houston area for them, and has been a very successful project. What's interesting about this project is that it is truly inspired by the fact that they're in the information technology business. And Bob Robertson, who is Shannon's father, actually began this company by walking around in downtown with a little black case cleaning typewriters, which is an amazing story in itself, and one that I enjoy and appreciate. It progressed into copy machines and the very sophisticated information technology that we have today. Fast forward, basically what we have here is a building that uses the concept of duplication as its concept. And so it is a tilt-up concrete building, which is the ultimate in being able to duplicate pieces and being able to use that process in construction.
Let's look at the next.
I think the next image is at the entrance, and on the right-hand side of this, on the two panels, that's the preamble to the Constitution. And it's there not once, but twice, and that represents the notion of it being duplicated, if you will. And you'll notice up close, if you were to be at the site, that particular letters in the preamble actually spell ImageNet there on the face of the building, and it's lighted from behind.
Okay, let's look at one more.
Everyone knows that Houston is a hot place, and often a simple breeze is all you need to make it feel a little cooler. We created a courtyard here. You're actually walking between what we call two pages of a book as you move into the courtyard. What you're seeing in the air is actually a binary number, the number 0, and it is casting its own shadow on the panel to the right, which is also about the idea of duplication. And as we know, information moves electronically using the binary system.
Let's go to the last project, and we'll kind of have to speed through it a little bit.
Sure. Well,
that looks familiar.
Everyone knows about Pops and Arcadia along Route 66, something that's become a true icon in Oklahoma City and across the country, frankly.
How did you come up with the pop bottle idea? Well, I mean, I guess if it's
right,
soda is the theme, I suppose.
It is. And if you know anything about Route 66, you know that it was always about an idea, something to grab you off of the highway and draw you into a fun experience.
All right, let's take a look at another picture here.
This is a great photograph because it represents Oklahoma's sky, but we have a 100-foot cantilever at Pops showing sort of the drama, and the idea with the architecture was that it's reaching forward, it's reaching into the future. Often people think Route 66 is a bygone thing.
Yes.
It's really alive and well and moving forward.
Okay, let's take a look at another one.
This is underneath the canopy. The canopy is virtually an outdoor room, and this is a wonderful place to be on a snowy day or a rainy day.
Yeah, let's quickly look at the final picture.
Of course, Pops is known for soda, and here we have some 10,000 bottles of soda on display at Pops, and on any given day, it's packed full of people.
Indeed, and some of them may be me and my family.
I hope so.
In just the 30 seconds or 45 seconds we have remaining, what's on the drawing board for Rand Elliott?
Well, it's a very exciting time to be in Oklahoma City in particular, Kent. There are wonderful opportunities. Of course, MAPS is bringing new things forward, and we hope to be out there competing for some of that work. If Mick were here today, I'd be banging on his door telling him that I'm coming to see.
I'll tell him.
Okay, thanks very much. We are working on a wonderful addition to the Fred Jones Jr. Museum of Art in Norman on the campus there we're really excited about. We're working on Class and Curve, of course, a very new and modern retail center that's going on. Working on a wonderful little jewel box project in Hennessy, Oklahoma for Kirkpatrick Oil. My friend Chris Cassee. We're going to do a wonderful little office building there for him. And we're working on a house in Amarillo at the edge of the Paladuro Canyon for a couple. So some very interesting and broad-based
Diverse.
things. Very diverse.
We're out of time, Rand.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, and come back again. We've been visiting with Rand Elliott, award-winning over and over again architect right here in Oklahoma City. Come look at some of his works. We'll be right back.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to The Verdict. Kent Myers finishing up the show with Rand Elliott, award-winning over and over again, both national and internationally, architecture firm, just a quality organization right here in Oklahoma City. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of his projects. And if you want to have further contact with Rand, we have his website for you. It is www.e-a-a.com. That's for Rand Elliott's firm. And of course, we have our website, which we hope that you will get on and tell us what you think, tell us what you want to see, and we'll do our best to accommodate you. TheVerdict.tv. See you next week.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.